Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town Council meeting of the Town of Rye, September 15th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tommy?
I don't have it.
Okay. Frankie Day for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
next month.
Hope, roll call, please.
Councilperson Pamela Jaffe. Here. Councilperson Jill Axelrod. Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Here.
Councilperson Lindsay Ann Jackson.
Here.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Here. First item, of course, is adoption of the minutes of August 18th, 2022. If there are no objections or corrections, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Our first item of business is a presentation from ClearGov for operational and budgeting solutions. Michael Lanza is here to make a presentation. Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Garrett. I appreciate it.
Can we make him on the big screen? Can we make him big?
You can make her big.
Supersize me.
Supersize.
You are about to be just that. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. Am I all good? Great. Let me share my screen then. Oh, it looks like I don't have the ability to share my screen. Could the host grant me that permission, please? I apologize for the sun glare over my shoulder as well.
So while we're getting Michael's screen program so that he can share his screen, I want to introduce what we're doing here. This is, the Town of Rye has been subscribing to ClearGov's financial transparency product for several years. It has been a wonderful product that enables us to be transparent about our finances and compares us to comparable communities and enables the public to go onto our website and to find information. This new suite of products will enable us, I believe, to transform our budgeting process from what has been a very manual process based on meetings and handwritten notes that are then transcribed into Excel spreadsheets, and then any other changes are done manually through the same process. Instead, this product has the potential to transform our entire budgeting process, much as our iCompass online agenda software enabled us to transform our agenda management. But more so, because the products in this suite not only enable us to enter information dynamically, but we can share the development with council members if they're interested. And it will also enable us to convert into graphics. And they have embedded in the product long-range planning tools as well. So Pelham has been using this product for about a year, very successfully. Life-changing is what the administrator-treasurer described it as. The Village of Rybrook, which was the earliest adopter of the transparency product in the state of New York, just voted to onboard, I believe, 2 out of the 4 pieces of this suite, and then they're going to start working. They'll start onboarding it immediately, I believe. So for our budget cycle, it's a little fast to get it done for the 2023, to use it for the 2023 budget. But we can, if you would like it, and we can discuss what of it you would like, we can build it into the 2023 budget so we can pay for it and start onboarding it at the start of the year. That's the idea. Michael, are you ready?
I am. I was just trying to find a less sunny spot. I apologize. It's following me around the room. Let me share my screen now. Excellent. Can everyone see my screen? Do you guys see cleargrip.com? Excellent, excellent. I just want to start on the website. I wanted to come down here and just speak to this product wheel. Let me zoom out a little. Oh, I guess it won't let me. So what you see on the screen here, these are our 5 products that make up our budget cycle management suite. So as Debbie mentioned, what this is helping with is creating an end-to-end solution for all things budgeting in the town of Rye. It's going to help you get out of the Excel spreadsheets. It's going to help reduce the manual work, as well as make it easier for the council members to understand the budget numbers and make the best decisions for the town. It's going to provide more transparency to residents or anyone that wants to understand those numbers as well, not just your council. And it's going to create a repeatable process. Something that we're hearing from our customers is that this set of tools is helping them to leave a legacy for the people that take over the finance in these municipalities. Too often this work is being done in spreadsheets, and when we see turnover, it's almost it's very cumbersome and difficult for the next person to take over and to make good use of the tools at hand. So this is helping to solve all of that, and helping to help the town budget better. So what I was going to show you today very quickly are these 5 products. I'll just speak to them right now. Currently, the town is using our transparency portal, but what we were going to look at today is also our digital budget book. Transparency and the book are the public-facing tools that display your numbers. While transparency is about where we're at and where we're going, the digital budget book is actually going to be where we were last year, as well as being able to dive into those numbers, as well as being built around the GFOA Budget Presentation Award, which our customers that have won that award, it actually affects your bond rating. So there's another benefit to bringing recognition, in the sense it also will help the town with its bond rating. But we have tools to build the budget: capital, personnel, and operational. These are going to be used by the finance team to help put together the budgets. They can connect, and then they can flow into the digital book, as well as into the transparency portal. So we want to automate as much of this work as we can to free your team up to go after more important things like grant dollars and the like. So with that, let me show you an example of a digital budget book. And Debbie had mentioned Pelham. So this is actually Pelham's digital budget book. So instead of looking at the standard couple 100-page PDF, instead we have this website-based interactive document that will bring you to all the sections that you want to see. So for example, this is demographics, and as you can see, this is interactive. So the benefit to this is, and this is fully automated, this is an example of automation, is that it's going to help give some clarity or some context to the reader about what does the town look like from a demographic standpoint. We have all these other sections too, again, built around the GFOA criteria, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, kind of the gold seal when it comes to budgeting at a municipal level. But all of these sections can be easily found, including fund summaries. If we take a look here at... Sorry, what was that?
Not here.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
we hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Should I keep going? I want to make sure I'm good to keep going.
Yes, please.
Okay. So what you're looking at right now, these are your fund summaries. This software will summarize all of the town's funds and present them in these interactive charts and graphs. And what's nice about this, for one, is that it's connected to budget numbers. So these will update if your numbers update. And there's also ample areas to add narrative. There's also different chart styles available. So depending on how the viewer understands the numbers or wants to see them, they can view that, as well as having a table breakdown. So this is going to do that across all of your funds. It'll show expenditures by function, revenue. It'll even show fund balances as well with this solution. So it's a really, really nice piece of automation, and it presents it in a very easy to understand way. Funding sources, department budgets, all of these will also be automated as well. So if we wanted to look at public safety's budget here, this is all automated as well. And we can display up to 20 years of financial data in this tool. So this is just an example of Pelham's digital budget book. Here we can see a table with a lot of level of detail. I should also mention that this is completely printable. You can print either the whole book or just sections of it. The software will generate a PDF automatically. So while we are helping to modernize the process, we're still giving you that PDF output, that paper document that we realize a lot of people want as well. That's just a very quick look at the digital budget book. What I want to show you next is going to be the budget building solutions and how they would help the council better understand the numbers and help you to make the best decisions for the town of Rye. So with that, let's jump in here. On the left, this is where we have access to all of the ClearGov tools. I'm going to show you the capital budgeting dashboard. Personnel budgeting and capital budgeting let you run scenarios. So if you want to see what would it look like if we funded these 5 requests versus these 10, what would it look like if we hired a person in this department or did a COLA increase here? These solutions are going to let you present these different scenarios to the council, and it's going to let you sort by scenario version, by your budget years, by departments, as well as by even the type of request. So it lets you get very granular, and it's going to display all of this information right at your fingertips. Capital costs by department are broken out. This is a 5-year capital improvement plan. We can also view operational costs as well as funding sources. So these are all tools that are going to help the council when it comes to choosing what is the best capital plan to move forward with. At the end of the day, we all know that there's only so many dollars to go around, and these requests don't go away. So we're helping with that. On the same hand, the same is true with personnel. So coming in here to personnel. This is our personnel dashboard. So again, if you want to show off the different options we have here, what would it look like if we did this COLA? What would it look like if we hired this extra person in this department at this step midway through the year? This is going to help present those options to the council. And again, you can sort by your fiscal year. You can sort by your units, which are grouping of employees. You can also sort by departments as well. And it's going to break out how much the personnel budget scenario is, how many employees, FTEs, as well as costs. Especially with personnel, we see this is one of the biggest areas of expense for our customers. And this tool in particular almost pays for itself by helping them to budget better from a personnel salary, benefit, and wages perspective. Here we can see the units broken out as well and departments. So these are all going to be tools to help build the budget. I'll show you quickly the operational budget, although this is going to be more used to build the budget after you've taken in those scenarios and gotten buy-in. Why don't we jump into this one. And I apologize, I'm working on a very small laptop, so if this is a little tight, that is why. But this is the tool that's going to help Debbie and others build the budget. What's nice about this is that she's going to be able to invite people in to come in here and view all of your budget numbers. So the council, if requested, can come in here and view all of these numbers. You can actually ask questions right on the line item. And whoever's managing these numbers, this budget, will be able to actually reply right here in the tool to you. So hopefully you agree this is a really collaborative way to create a repeatable process, help you budget better, and present this information really clearly to residents. The last thing I will show you, and I will actually show you a live example here. I apologize, let's see. Is we're also going to give you a CIP website. So this is actually another town we're working with in Arizona. This is Queen Creek, and this is their Capital Improvement Department webpage. We could do this for the town of Rye as well, where we can create a nice banner that when you click it, takes you over to the ClearGov hosted CIP website. This is going to showcase all of the projects that you have going in and around Rye. And people can click into these and see all of this information right here in one place. This is all coming from the forms that department heads are going to submit for these requests. So they're not going to have to use an Excel spreadsheet or meet in person. They're actually going to be able to send this all over, and a resident's going to be able to see projected expenditures versus expenditures to date. We can see this was last updated about a month ago. Here we can see the breakdown of funding sources, as well as who's in charge of this project. What phase are we in? And what is the timeline? And the last thing I'll highlight is that people that want to stay up to date on these projects, which I don't believe I saw on the town website, you have that capability, is people can subscribe to these updates. So as this project progresses, maybe you live in this neighborhood and you want to know as this project is moving along, you will get email updates if you subscribe to it. So it's definitely an end-to-end solution and centralizes all the budget work. With that, I just want to pause. Happy to speak to any questions, but hopefully you all liked what you saw.
Questions from the council? I know Lindsay must
Yes.
have at least one.
Hello, it's good to see you again. I know we went over the capital project product, and it's great. And I am actually very excited about this. I do have a couple of quick questions as far as the digital budget book and the tracking of expenditures. Each budget session, we rely heavily on not just what was budgeted the previous year, but where we are as far as what's been spent year to date and what our projections are for the end of the year. Is there, with this tool, will we be able to see that information as well? And how is that going to be? Is it going to be something that we rely on the staff to put on input in real time? Do they just put it in during budget season?
Great question. The answer is yes. You will be able to display projected as well as actuals. The way that we would get actuals into the system is you would just simply send that to us, and then we can display them in there. If you build your budgets in ClearGov, though, you don't have to send us any data. It's all in the tool, and you can easily switch. In fact, here, let me share my screen again. This is my example budget book, but you can easily switch between budget versions. That's another big benefit of this, is that right now we're looking at a proposed version, and we can see when this was last updated. If we then move to the adopted, all of the charts and graphs, all of the numbers in your fund summaries and the department budgets and your CIP, those are all going to update with the latest budget numbers. So there's no manual work to come in here. All of this will update based off the budget that you select. Did that speak to the question?
So
Is that
basically,
helpful?
yeah, so basically as the budget lines, as money's expended in each budget line, the back end is to input it so that it can
You
be
would-
tabulated.
For actuals,
Yes.
you would just send that to us whenever you want, so we can display those. We don't charge for data updates, but that would have to come from your accounting system. You would just send that to us in an Excel file, and then your CSM would get that into the tool, and we would have a column here in the table, the spreadsheet breakdown, that would show off whatever versions of your budget you want. So if you wanted to show 2022 actuals, if you wanted to show 2022 projections or 23 or past budgets, you'd be able to select those here. In fact, let me jump back over to Pelham's book. I think they had some good examples here in their general fund. So here they have actuals, here's an adopted, here's actuals budgeted, and then here's a percentage change column as well being displayed.
And how long does it usually take for the data to be uploaded?
So that's another big benefit, which is because we're already working with the town, we have most of your data already mapped and ready to go. There would be some minor data revisions as needed, but if you build your budgets in this tool, you don't need to send us anything. And if you want to just leverage the book, you can just send us the data as often as you'd like, and it will update.
So basically, as soon as we get figures, expenditures, as the year progresses, and we send them over to you, that transition to get them up on to the budget book should be pretty instantaneous, or?
It's around 24 to 48 hours. If you need a shorter turnaround, like if you guys have a council meeting coming up and you need to have this updated, you can let your customer service manager know ahead of time, and we can meet that short time window. We have a lot of customers that do that. But for the most part, a 24, 48 hour turnaround, it seems to be plenty fast for our customers in most situations.
So now, with this budget book and then with the transparency software, money changing from fund to fund, or, you know, I guess what I would say is budget transfers then would be visible as well and itemized under the budget book?
You're able to display really as much as you'd like in the book. If you'd like to showcase that, you can certainly do so. We have the ability to, let me go back to my book here. We have fund summaries as well as department budgets. So depending how much you'd like to show in these, including fund balances, let me scroll down here. Here we can show off fund balances as well.
But there's no specialized mechanism, I guess, would be the correct way to see or to chart how funds are transferred from one budget line to the next throughout the year.
That would be in the operational budgeting tool. That's going to be in the actual tool that you would use to build the budget. You are able to transfer and shift monies around as needed. The book is more of the presentation side.
Okay. No, that's what I was, okay, that makes sense.
Excellent.
Matt, do you want to spend, our controller is here with us. Do you want to spend a little bit of time talking about the integration between our accounting software system and your product?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So right now we don't have a direct export to the Sage 50. But that being said, we are able to export all of the budget numbers out in an Excel file, and we can even help you to set up a custom report for Sage 50. So that way, when you're ready to get your budget out of ClearGov, you can run that custom report and it'll give you all the fields that you need to upload it back into that ERP. That being said, that's a claim to fame of ClearGov in the sense that we play well with all ERP systems, and we have some one-click exports built in to these tools as well. So for example, let me go into operational budgeting. Oh, sorry, move the zoom controls. This report builder tab, this just showcases some of the ERP systems that we have one-click exports built into. And we're adding to this list every day. That being said, with Sage 50, we could help you to set up a custom report, one of these detailed reports, so that we could get all the fields that you need to export it out of ClearGov and get it back into that Sage system.
Dave, any questions?
Are you dealing with other municipalities in Sage as well, that you've already set up reports?
I believe we do have some Sage customers. I've heard of that system before. I don't have those names right off the top of my head, but like I said, a claim to fame is that we work well with all ERPs. So as long as Sage can accept the data in an Excel file or a CSV, it's not a problem for us to get it in there.
Yeah, so we could upload information, basically line item totals. We won't have detail, right, but we have line item totals that would match with the budgets as well.
Correct. Yep, the line item totals would be in there, the line item level of detail. If you build your budget in ClearGov, you can actually display subline item level of detail. So that's another benefit too, and that can be pushed into your budget book as well if you build your budget in this system. So if you want to get very detailed, this software has the ability to display that, and it's as simple as toggling it on.
Why would we not build a budget in ClearGov once we adopt it? Dave? I mean, it just seems to me, eliminating a step, just build a budget in it.
Of course, yeah.
That is definitely the preferred experience. Just coming back to this product wheel, all of these products work independently. That's another benefit to ClearGov. But the best customer experience, and we're actually seeing a lot of customers that are retiring that are signing up for this suite because it leaves whoever takes over with tools to cover everything relating to budgeting. But to your point, it's a much better experience building the budget in the tool because you don't have to send us data. Everything's centralized for department heads, for all your staff. They have one set of tools to do everything, which is another big benefit.
I have a question. With now, our department heads are very good with the computer and stuff, and there's going to be another program on there. Is there going to be training that's going to be needed with this program? Additional training?
It's a great question. There is some training. We found it's a very intuitive system, but that being said, we do offer training. We will train every user. We also don't charge for users or training. So as the town grows and as you have turnover, we're going to help support and make sure that everybody gets up and running with this tool. So rest assured.
Okay.
So as far as the operational budget feature, during the budget process, what as a board can we expect to see, and what kind of sets this program apart from what we have been using, which is the spreadsheets? Yeah.
There's a lot that sets this program apart from a spreadsheet. It's automating a lot of work. It's much more collaborative. There's a lot of time savings. We have audit trails built into this as well. It can be I hear this from our customers all the time that make the move to this, especially with personnel. It can be very scary building these budgets in a spreadsheet because if you make a mistake, especially when it comes to salaries and benefits, it can really impact people's lives. These tools are built, they have formulas built in, they have audit trails built in. You don't have to worry about that. They can all flow and connect with one another. I can't tell you how many customers have multiple spreadsheets and multiple versions and how cumbersome and difficult that is trying to put them all together and to make sense of them. And then if somebody changes something, you then need to go in and update things everywhere. This is solving that, as well as letting the council come in and view the budget at any point, but not be able to make changes, be able to ask questions.
So are you able to sort of take us into a simulation, or I guess an example of an operating budget interface and kind of what we can expect to see?
Yeah. So this is the operational budgeting dashboard right here. And what I want to show you is down below. This is where we would have the chart of accounts. So we budget or we organize them by department or by object, and I can collapse all. In fact, let me maximize the screen because I'm on this little laptop here. So this is exactly what the council would see. You'd be able to come in here and view these budgets. This is where you could ask questions right on the line item. So maybe training and education, the council member sees, we're spending $1,000 on this. You could pose a question right here and say, why is this 50% more than last year. Come back in here, you'll see that Michael said this on this date for this line item. So that's just an example of how you could ask a question and you could view all of these different, all of these line items as well as the subline item detail. So here's an example of that. Training and education, we're spending $1,000 on it. What does that look like? How did we get to that $1,000? Well, here's the national training event and here's the local training event. Each were $500, totaling up that $1,000, which is a decrease of 88.89% from last year. So it's, hopefully you agree, a really nice way to be able to view this, as well as being able to come up to this columns. You can look at any past versions of your budget, and you can compare those side by side with your current line item amounts. So if you want to see what did it look like the last 3 years actuals versus what we're budgeting today for this line item, you'll be able to have those side by side with this line item expense. In fact, let me scroll over here. Here we have some past versions of the budget as well with those line item values. And we can hide them as needed too.
So you can basically customize your view if you're looking for something specific or you want to make specific comparisons.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is the budget building tool. You can also set that up in the digital budget book like we saw with this example here. We can show off percentage change, dollar change. We can also display different budget versions as well as the percentage or dollar change. So if you want to show the year over year change, we can easily display that. You just toggle that view on.
And as far as the operational budget, I guess I have two major questions. The first one is, in what ways do you see municipalities sort of customizing or tailoring these tools? Because I know you do work closely with municipalities to sort of meet differing needs. So I was just wondering if there's trends that you've seen that you think would be useful.
Yeah, one trend that we have is that you're able to actually enter end of year projections. Department heads can enter end of year projections at the same time as they're requesting next year's budget amounts. So that's a nice example of how this is helping our customers and kind of a unique customization. I mean, really, this would reflect your chart of accounts. So this would have all of your data in here. It's very uniform, I think is probably the way to say it. It's more customized on the budget book side, where you can have the different background and images. You can even include videos in the budget book too, if you want, because it's website based. So that's going to be the more appropriate place to do the customizations.
But in the development of the operational budget, in essence, you would take sort of the format we have now that we're given with the actuals projected and, you know, past appropriated.
Yep.
And combine that into what we would interface with
Absolutely.
in developing the budget.
Yep. Just coming back here to the columns. All of those budget versions that you just mentioned, those would be available for you here to bring back up and compare. So let me hide some of these columns.
The Village of Pelham just signed on the last year with you guys.
They did, and the Village of Rybrook, they also just approved us the other day. I actually just got the contract back about an hour ago from Chris over in Rybrook.
How many years back did they load for budget information once they signed on? Did they go back 5 years or?
So we need at least 5 years of data from you, but we can take up to 20 years of data, and that can be displayed in any of these tools. This is Pelham's budget book, and they're just displaying 21 through 23 for their general fund. But if we were to go to all revenue, yeah, it looks like they're just displaying 21 through 23. But if I go back to my example budget book, this is 20 years of data. And it's interactive, so if you just want to see actuals, now we can just see the actuals. Hopefully that's helpful to see. It speaks to the question.
So now I'm looking at, and I actually did go into our own website to sort of see the transparency aspect, in particular, how it relates to positions being filled and the personnel budget. So I was just interested to see basically what the personnel budgeting is and how it interfaces with the operational budgeting. Is it,
So the personnel budgeting module, let me bring that up here. Let me minimize this. Keep moving the Zoom window around in case wondering why I'm moving my mouse like that. This is the dashboard, but you'd be able to run scenarios in this tool. This is where it gets pretty exciting. The scenarios let you compare the different options, right? So what would it look like if we hired someone in this department or that department? What would it look like if we offered retirement to this employee with this payout? What if we did this % benefit increase? You're going to be able to compare all of these scenarios, as well as being able to jump into them and make all the adjustments you need to. So for wages, if you wanted to make a 3% adjustment to all of your police, you could apply that right here at the parent category, choose the particular date you want it applied, and it would apply it to everyone within the police department. Or if you wanted to apply it to just police lieutenants, or maybe you want to just apply it to Joan, you could make that change at all of these levels. Same thing with additional pay and benefit options, as well as being able to include those new position requests in the personnel budget. So what would it look like if we hired this HR director? If we needed to make an adjustment to their wages, we can do so. If there's any additional pay or benefits too, we can account for. Oh, sorry.
so now is this just basically projection, or as, let's say, you know, an employee gets a stipend, or as they're given additional pay, we could track that?
You could certainly track that. And the idea is that once you've built out the scenario, you can import it into the operational budget along with all the level of detail. So let me jump back in here and I can show you that. Alrighty. So let's open this up. Look at police services again. So normally you would just have full-time salaries and then you would have a total amount, and there wouldn't be much level of detail, but by being able to import in that personnel scenario, I've pointed all of my my subline items to the appropriate account IDs, so we can see these salaries broken out across all these different positions. Same thing with all of the benefits and additional pay options. So we can see how these all roll up to that grand total amount. So that's how this operational budgeting is able to pull in the personnel. Same thing with the capital scenario as well. Hopefully that's what this is what you were hoping to see.
Yes, and so I wanted to see how far in the future we could take a look at the personnel budgeting. Let's say if we wanted to say over the course of the next few years, we want to increase salaries by X amount, could we track it that way too? So not just looking forward to 2023, but also 2024 and then 2025 as a compounded?
Absolutely. In fact, this tool lets you plan out 20 years. You can forecast out 20 years in capital and personnel budgeting. In operational budgeting, you can also forecast out 20 years. So if you want to take a look at and be more mindful of what those future costs will be, we can also include future hires. That's another thing too. So maybe you know that the town is going to be building a new building, And when that building is complete, you're going to hire 5 new people. But that's not for 3 years from now. You can start to account for that now in the process, because this tool lets you go out 20 years in advance if you want.
That's great.
I-
And,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Okay, just a quick question. We input all this and we have all this capability to manipulate data on the dashboard, which I assume lives on your site. What is the
Yep.
public-facing version of this? Is it embeddable onto our Town of Rye site, or do we have to train our residents to go to ClearGov for this information?
Excellent question. The digital budget book is going to be the public-facing side, as well as your transparency portal. The personnel budgeting tool, that's not going to be used or seen by residents. That's going to be an internal tool. Same thing with the operational budget and the capital budget. But you'll notice, for example, in the budget book, if you build your capital budget in this tool, it will summarize your CIP section completely in your budget book.
Right, but I'm asking if that is embeddable on our current website, or do we hyperlink, hotlink out to your site if people want this information?
It's all through our website. You would hyperlink out. We use Amazon Web Servers, the same thing Homeland Security and the DoD uses. So, but yeah, it would be a simple web link we could create, much like they have this banner right here on Queen Creek on their website. We could create this for the town as well, and this could link to your digital budget book, and we could put this anywhere on your website.
Okay, so, and you will help our IT people create that hot link?
Yeah, it's actually very easy. It's just a URL and an image that you guys post on your website.
Yep.
But yeah, we can absolutely help with that.
I have a practical question. If we use this software, when we pass our budget, as we do every year, right now, we're passing a budget in a written form, PDF, you know, like everybody else's budget. What is the official document, the budget, when we use your product? Do we then just take that and print it out as we have because we make it into a PDF, or is it a different formula? Is it the budget book? What actually do we pass by resolution? Maybe we could ask
Great
Pelham
question.
that.
So the way you would pass it by resolution is we have customers doing it a variety of ways. Some customers build a book specific to their council. Others invite them in to view the budget in the operational budgeting tool. Open this one back up. We can invite the council members in as reviewers. So you'd be able to come in here and see all of these line items. You could ask the questions right here in the tool. And then you'd be able to, once it's been approved, you could save that version of the budget. And then you could save that as you're adopted. And then if you ever need to reopen the budget to make an amendment, you can again save another version as amended.
I'm just
Hopefully that's
trying to think, in other words, let's say I'm a member of the public and I want to look at the budget. Right now, I have a budget that has a statement of revenues and expenses broken down by department. Is that the same thing that a resident would see if they asked to see the budget now, or we would see if we had the budget?
So it's very much up to you, Gary, in the sense of how much level of detail you want to put into your book. You don't have to include 20 years of budget data. You don't have to show certain table breakdowns. It's very much in your control, but residents, the public, the book is what they're going to see when it comes to looking at the budget or the transparency portal.
Did
But really the
Pelham,
book.
did Pelham use this for its 22 budget?
Yep, I believe so. This is their 22-23 budget. So
And this is the Village of Pelham?
this is, yep.
All right,
This
so
is
the-
live. I'm happy to share this afterwards if y'all would like to take a look at this and click through it, because there's a lot of really nice information and sections in here too.
Yeah, I think it would be great, since it's a public document, if you could arrange to send that to all of us, including the controller and Debbie and the council, to see what now their budget, unlike ours, we have a fiscal year budget. The village's budget go from June 1. So,
Yep.
But the line items will be relatively the same. And obviously, a village's line items are somewhat different than the town's line items. They don't have an assessment department, for example.
Yep.
And their clerk's department would be a little bit different, but it would give us a flavor of what a budget looks like in your format.
Absolutely, and I could share. I have a couple other New York villages I could share, and some towns, some cities too. And
Towns would be great.
yeah,
All the town's
Absolutely.
budgets, their town budget would be kind of similar to ours, same departments.
yep. Happy to share that with the council.
Great.
Happy to share all of that.
So, Michael, I have a couple more general questions. I think the first one is, how long does it take to mobilize if we were to move forward with this and get situated? Obviously, we're in the midst of the 2023 budget, but do you have a concept of if we were to utilize all of the tools available?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really easy to use software. It's pretty intuitive, especially coming from a spreadsheet. I think you'd be able to pick this up very quickly, and we'll support you. We've had customers build a budget book in as little as 6 weeks. We've had customers build a budget book in 6 months. It all depends on the level of detail you want to put in and how much time you'd like to dedicate. Definitely the best experience is from the book side. It's going to be when you have the time to get in here, you can build out these sections even before the data is mapped. But a lot of customers also build a more basic budget book the first year, and then the second year, you're able to reuse all of this work. So the second year, a lot of those customers, because they're able to reuse the existing book, they can build out those additional sections and really make this even nicer and even bigger.
So they build onto it, in essence.
Exactly. Yep. Year 2 is definitely the time savings that you want with the book. Like anything, there's going to be some setup to get it where you need it, but once it's there, you can reuse it every year. You can just simply choose the budget version. All the charts and graphs will update. Things like, you know, your fund structure, your basis of budgeting, those aren't changing much from year to year, so you can reuse those. The only thing you need to manually update would be any narrative that you put in there. So it's a really big time saver. We've had customers tell us this has saved them hundreds of hours of work. These tools are like having extra finance staff on hand. So, and on our website, I would definitely encourage you to check on our website. If you go to cleargov.com under resources, we have testimonials, we have videos, we have articles and case studies for all of our products. We're very transparent here. And we're also endorsed by NACO, which is, I think, a big deal. While I realize you're not a county, NACO is a very selective organization, and they've endorsed us for budgeting and for budget book software. So they've already vetted us, and we're very proud of that. So.
For those who don't know, that's the National Association of Counties.
So basically, each year, the budget, what we built sort of as a template for the budget would repopulate. So in essence, for 2023, what we have adopted or appropriated for 2022 would filter into 2023, and we would have the ability to change or manipulate those lines as we see fit.
Exactly.
And let me ask you just a little bit about the, I guess, the subscription service. I was just looking at the quote you had provided with the one-time setup fee. I'm assuming to go to purchase the products bit by bit or piecemeal actually would be counterintuitive. It would actually be more expensive because we wouldn't have the bundled solution discount, is that correct?
$14,000, it's,
Well, and
it's half price.
1,900 for the setup phase, so.
Right.
Correct. Candidly, that is by design. We want our customers to use all these tools because it's the best experience, and the more products that you use, the larger the bundle discount. So you can certainly add them on later as you want, but to your point, it's much more affordable to add them all on, and it's a better experience too, because we can help get everyone onboarded and feeling good about these all at once.
I have a question. I know enough about computers just to get by, but you recommend 5 years behind on budgets, and you can go back as far as 20 years, and you can
Yep.
project up to 20 years. Do we have a certain amount of bandwidth that we have to, that goes with this, or is it like unlimited?
It's unlimited. We use Amazon Web Servers, so that's another benefit too, which is during COVID, we saw a lot of our customers, they weren't able to go into the office. These tools you can access anywhere you have internet. So if you're working from home or working remotely, you can still put in the time and do this work.
And
But to answer your question, no bandwidth
Okay.
limits.
But with double factor authentication, so that I don't think we want the entire world to be able to access this from wherever. So I guess I'm asking about security.
Yeah, it's email and password protected. We also have a single sign-on capability. So if that's something that the town's using right now, we can accommodate that as well. But it's Amazon Web Servers, so it's very secure. Like I said, Department of Defense and Homeland Security, they use the same servers that we're on.
So we could require like a VPN sign-in.
I could check with my team about that. I mean,
I know that's what we use in the county, like a VPN code
Yeah.
for certain things.
I think we might be able to do that, but honestly, it's probably easier to just have it be email and password login. And I think we do have two-factor authentication, or that's coming out. I know I heard about that recently, so I can double check with my team. Is there a security concern? Is that a big concern for the town, or?
We always are concerned with security.
If we can avoid a problem, that would be great.
The concern would be that somebody would be able to access the information and change it, remove it, and then it's gone. So I know you have backups, but that would be, improper access would not be good. We
Yep.
use the token, we need the secure token to sign into VPN,
Mm-hmm.
even after, user ID and password, so.
Sorry, the last bit broke up, but just to speak to that, this is I think it would be just as difficult to break into this system as it would be to hack into maybe like one of your emails. So the single sign-on is great because it's you wouldn't need an email or password. But that being said, I'm happy to send over a security doc. We have one that I can send over for review, but I've never heard of anyone having any issues with people getting into the system that shouldn't. And we do have that audit trail built in as well. So even in that type of scenario, you'd be able to see who changed what, where, and when, and you'd be able to go back to the previous version.
All right. Any other questions, Jill? Okay. Pam, more?
I think I'm okay for now.
I'm good.
You good? Lindsay?
No, I think that,
You sure?
I'm sure, for now, yes. I'm sure I'll think of more later.
All right, I don't have,
I'll wake up tomorrow with a few.
I'm the same way. I was gonna mention if there's any additional questions, I'm more than happy to speak to them. You can email them directly to me, or if you want to hand them off to Debbie to send them to me, you're welcome to. But yeah, we really value working with the town, and we would love to help you with even more budget-related work and make everyone's lives easier. So hopefully you liked my presentation today.
thank you, Mark. I think we all did. I think it was eye-opening for
Yeah.
at least some of us. Thank you. Thank you very
We'd
much.
love to help
We'll talk soon.
get you out of Excel.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
And Debbie, I think this question is geared more towards you. Since you brought this up, what is your ideal timeline for moving forward? Because I know we've already discussed.
it now.
I know. Well,
We were gonna have it now.
Turning bright red.
Dave-
Dave can input 20 years worth of data into, what usually takes people 6 weeks to build.
Disagreed on the now.
Yeah.
We already have it.
Or like maybe initiating it in the next few months.
Well,
Yeah.
I would, look, the fact is that if we go forward with this, I'd like to get it moving as soon as possible so that we would have as much data loaded as possible before the next budget session, and in fact, can run mock-ups of it next spring and, compare what we've done this year with what we could possibly do in the future. And I think that, if we decide to go forward with it, then the sooner the better. It doesn't, we don't want to be in a position to say next October, let's do it. So,
I think there's what you saw was a sequence of choices that somebody made deliberately that said, okay, we want it to look like this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody understands what happens when you're deluged with too much data.
Correct.
It's almost as useless as no data.
Correct.
So there are going to be decisions to make along the way. And my idea is that we start onboarding this in Q1, in the first
Correct.
quarter, so that by the time we're halfway through the year, we're starting.
We have a better
Well,
idea of what
Right.
we're.
We've been starting our budget cycle in earnest just before Labor Day. And I would anticipate that by Labor Day, we'll be in a position where we can send something out to our department heads and they can start loading in their requests. And I'm sure we'll still need to meet with them and talk about what ifs, but that's my idea.
yeah, and also the earlier we do it, the more questions are going to come up as to how to do it and what to put in, and do we need this or should we have that? And the more time we have and the more attention we pay to it, the better product it's going to be when we pass the 24 budget. Okay? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mark, again, much appreciated.
Michael.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
I said Michael, I said Mark, Michael, okay.
Wrong
Starts with
apostle.
an M.
No worries, Gary. Debbie, I'll follow up with you tomorrow. Is that,
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Next item is approval for Soul Riders to tie the park pink at Crawford in October. This is something we did last year for Soul Riders. And I don't think that there's any question about it. Debbie, you want to say anything about it?
I think on behalf of Leslie Findley, she submitted a formal request on behalf of the Soul Riders. I understand that there's an upgrade in the ribbon material, which has been sustainably friendly, and apparently it's sustainably friendlier this year.
And pinker.
It looks
Because it
pretty
got
pink to
orange.
me.
Oh, it got orange pretty fast last year. But yeah, I was very happy when they went to burlap, so that was nice of them.
All right.
They're a great organization,
Yep.
Yep.
really good organization.
Yeah.
And I would say that I've had firsthand experience. They have been, we've had a number of members of, or a couple members of our Town of Rye family that have been in need of support, and Soul Riders has been there instantly and very, very much appreciated.
I'm impressed with them. They are expanding their reach this year. I actually got a notice through Blindbrook, the school district, to participate and to buy ribbons. So they are really working into the community. As far even they said, would you like to buy ribbons in the Mamaroneck?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. They're
No man's land.
no, but they're embracing the town of Rye, not just Rye City. Like they're
Yeah, no, they're
really-
great.
We have a resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Tommy made the motion, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5.2 is a standard workday and record of activity for elected officials. This applies to those officials who are in the pension system. And Hope, why don't you talk about it? Of course, it's something that I know little about.
All right, this is something that, a resolution that we adopted in 2020 and 2021. Any elected or appointed official who are active members of the New York State retirement system, but they do not clock in, they do not participate in a timekeeping system, or what else? They have to fill out this standard workday. Right, record activity and the standard workday resolutions. So Judge Palmisano has done this for quite some years, and he updated his resolution, his records of activities, because he's putting in so many more hours. And I received Jill's, and I'm asking you to adopt this resolution tonight, because we have to place it on the website for at least 30 days, and I have to send it to the retirement system. And I encourage everyone who would like, any elected or appointed official who would like to participate in the retirement system, to send me their records of activity. I know Tommy did. Councilperson Nardi did.
So I need to abstain from voting since I have pecuniary interest in the outcome of the resolution. It's
Yeah, I was
it's me
thinking
and
that,
the
you
judge.
probably, yeah, I think you should
Okay.
abstain on this
Yeah.
one. May I have a motion and a second, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Call the roll on this one.
Mhm.
What's the standard workday for plan?
Well, the minimum is 6 hours, the maximum is 8 hours, but it's also, it's a formula that we have to, the 3-month records of
No, I'm
activities.
saying we were establishing 6 hours, is this for the appointed elected, that's.
Yes,
Okay.
right, for the part-time. Mhm. So I'll call the roll. Councilperson Axelrod?
I'm going to abstain from voting.
Okay.
since I-
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. The next resolution is regarding the contract with Lead Vantage. And Debbie, why don't you explain? I think we all know this. We all took the training. And this is for the, I believe, for the other employees of the town. And this is already, this has been in the budget for this year. Say something?
I wasn't sure. This was my
I'm
cue.
just saying that that we've already budgeted for this.
Correct. This is a program that was discussed at the budget workshops of November 8th and November 30th, and the council built
Of 21.
2021, correct? Council built the funding into the 2022 budget. And so now I'm moving to implement the program as discussed. Actually, at the time that we were talking about it, I was anticipating that we would have fewer participants and it would be more expensive. Instead, we've been able to arrive at a much better price and a nice steep discount, which is lovely. So we will be able to get 40 members of our staff trained. And this will hopefully, and from my experience, will give people tools to manage more effectively in diverse and inclusive work environments, to handle tense or anxiety, what would normally be an anxiety-filled conversation, and find a way to work through it more effectively. And I couldn't, based on the amount of time I have spent in the last several months on human resources conflicts, I enthusiastically encourage you to pass this resolution.
I shouldn't say this, but when I was taking this course, I was actually in my day job having some severe conflict moments. And it's really hard because you have to model and you have to speak through something. So I was just using my own, my own work-life experience, and it actually helped. Interpersonal, not just here, but in all aspects. It was a really helpful session.
I too have used the skills, used the tools.
But they're
And,
not easy to remember, and I think a yearly reinforcement would
Mhm.
definitely help.
Well, that, one of the great aspects of this is there's a library of materials, and we will continue to have access to it. Honestly, they say 1 year. The library that they created for Wright Town Park is still up. We can still get them. So I think they want those materials accessed.
That's great.
So,
So I know because I recall participating in it last year. And I have to say, it was different from what I thought. And, I thought that they left out a lot of important things, allyship in the workplace, which I think is important. It's not included in here. And I did feel that it was hard, I think, to relate or to immerse myself in it because it was being done long distance via Zoom. And I get that that's part of the pandemic. I have to say, I was somewhat disappointed in what I had gotten from it, and I've actually done some research. We have a very active Human Rights Commission, and in fact, someone just told me that we have a great resource here. Janai, I think, is a Human Rights Commissioner in Yonkers as well. So I did some research to see what other programs, more interactive, more immersive programs are available, and there's actually a number of free programs that are available. I know the National Equity Project is something I'd like to explore personally, and possibly use the resource that we have here already, Janai, to see if there are more, I guess, immersive, more personalized programs that we can use. I know the Human Rights Commissioner in Westchester County is phenomenal, Tejesh Sanchala, and he has a lot of expertise in this area. I actually emailed him. I just want to make sure I agree with the premise of it, and I agree with the concept of it. I want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck, and I really want to make sure that we're following the correct program. And again, my personal feeling was that it was not as interactive or immersive as I would have liked it to be. So I just ask that before if maybe we hold this over for another month before we make a determination and explore some other options, that would be great, since we do have the money in the budget.
The question I have about what you're raising is, you're saying that the Human Rights Commissioner will hold
No, I'm saying that they might have.
immersive training for 40 of our employees?
No, what I'm saying is they might have some ideas about other programs that we might want to explore. In essence, this is the first program we tried. This is the first program we used last year. And I would be interested to see what else is out there and what they have to offer before we kind of just fall into place and spend.
Well, look, if we want to put this off for a month, we could put it off for a month. But in that month, we need to look into whatever programs there are and have an analysis done so that we can get moving on this. As Debbie mentioned, we have had certain interpersonal relationship problems in the town. that she's had to deal with. And this training is hopefully, designed to deal with those. And, if we want to hold it off for a month, we don't have to take a vote on it now, but I definitely want to vote on it. Either this program or a substitute program next month.
I feel like this is more, I'm sorry, but I feel like this is more workplace education. So I've had issues with my Paychex login, and I just did all my training yesterday. And you could do your harassment training and just sit there and stare and take the rote questions. And then the lovely man who talked to me about toxic chemicals, that was just a Zoom where he scared the hell out of me for an hour talking about all the way people can die while we have a meeting. But this was more management skill training, which I thought was really interesting. And given that, we were talking about building up our managers' skill and how they deal, because there had been issues in the workforce, it was more to that than it was to me like harassment training, but I do think it was billed wrong. I think in the branding of it, you walked into it thinking you were going to get a certain type of training, but then you got this more manager skill training. And it was confusing when we first walked in there because, same thing. I didn't know that was what I was getting into. And I think it was a bit of a shock. But at the end of the session, I was like, oh.
Well,
okay.
and I think, and again, Gary, I understand, and I'm more than happy to do the legwork on this and take it on my own, and I promise I will. I know life has been insane for me in the past couple of years, but I would be happy to do this. I think the fact that we still are having issues today, a year later, means that we need to maybe look at other alternatives to address and other alternatives for this training than going back to the same training we've done and say, but we still have issues.
Yeah, but the training that we did, how many people took the training?
That was just the department heads and
Right.
elected officials.
And
This is for.
This
For
is,
the
this is to roll
entire
out, to scale it
town.
out to the,
This is for all,
for
the
the
entire,
employees.
all the town employees.
so you're looking, but who are we having interpersonal issues with, as you alluded to?
that's a human resources matter for an executive session.
No, and I understand that. I'm just trying to see how many people who, if we're going to spend $40,000, how many people who participated in the initial onset of this, managers, et cetera, we're now seeing issues again reoccur this year.
One,
Okay. And how many issues do we have pending, would you say?
I don't think of it this way. I think of it rather that I would, there are people throughout our government who need some skills in how to talk with one another, how to handle, sometimes the conflicts are cultural, sometimes the conflicts are interpersonal, sometimes the conflicts are just two people who are equally passionate, who are just talking past each other, and need some tools in order to identify what the problem is, call it what it is, and work through it to the other end.
Right. Like,
But-
let's say, hypothetical, Jose has attendants working for him who just aren't showing up. And when they do show up, they are being belligerent. And he goes to his manager and he talks it through with his manager and he tries to deal with it. And the situation's not resolving. This is the type of program, I think, that would give him the management skills to, learn.
This is a hypothetical name, correct?
This is hypothetical.
I was starting to get worried there.
No, but let's say someone's got to initiate a PIP, a personnel improvement program. That is a hard thing to do, especially for someone who's like a newer, younger, kind of mid-level manager. This, I feel like, was very helpful in getting there the appropriate way. Yes, that was entirely hypothetical.
Can I just ask a question? Unfortunately, I apologize, because I don't think that I was able to take part in this. I might have had conflicting work, commitments. So if I could just ask, how does this you know, what we were talking about earlier seems like something you could easily access. You just watch this and then you're kind of get a booklet or something and it's like, oh, this kind of conflict, let me look here. I'm not sure that I
No, it
understand
was-
what exactly it does. So you take the class, and after you take the class, how do you now have the tools that you didn't have before?
It's, there's an hour of homework in advance of, it's 4 sessions. There's an hour of work in advance of each session. Each one is on a different topic.
Okay,
The homework is comprised of articles to read, videos to watch.
yes,
Sometimes an exercise to fill out so that you come prepared, having already gone through a thought process and tried it out.
right.
Then there is of the hour session, the coach presents for about 20 minutes. And then the group breaks up into pods of 4 and no more than 5 participants, each with a coach, who then puts into practice some role playing to give everybody the opportunity to try out the new listening skill, the new speaking skill. That's how it's
And the
set up.
belief is that after going through this, you can then extrapolate whatever you've learned based on these hypotheticals or whatever. I mean, is that what you were saying? So because you went through this program and there was a hypothetical example of what to do if, you know, A does this and B does this, you were then able
Yeah.
to take that with you and
I
put
know,
actually
learning
did my
how
day
to-
job. It was really helpful.
Learning how to
based-
reframe
Yeah.
the issue, for example.
No, well, those are important skills for sure.
Right.
Sometimes when you're talking to someone at work, or we're, you know, bickering behind here, we're not listening to each other. So it's stopping and listening to them and then reiterating their concern to them and addressing their concern and then moving on.
And
So
how to,
you're
and how to
acknowledging that
properly
people-
address the concern, using the right language, learning, and not repeating the old way of doing it, but learning a way of accessing their, you know, their feelings and understanding more where the other person is coming from. And, you know, that's, over the sessions, look, is it a panacea for everything? No. Is it something to learn? I found it to be very valuable.
Do you think, I mean, I'm just sort of always in my head, cost-benefit analysis, you know, of the 40 people that we hope will undergo this program, can we think about how many people may be able to have that skill set of taking whatever they learned in the session and then bringing it into their own workplace and changing the behaviors that may have been ongoing for some time? Yeah, I don't mean to sound skeptical of it. I'm just slightly concerned. And again, you know, I know we're budgeted for it and all of that. But it, you know, it is fairly pricey, we do have to say. It's an investment of town resources, and I just want to kind of know that we're really hoping this is going to make a difference, and it's not. It's like the sexual harassment training that we, you know, all have to go through, whether it's working with the town of Rye, or I also have to do it for the county, obviously. Well, I understand how important it is, you know, some of it just feels so,
But
you
like
know,
with
and
it-
then I just, yeah,
But
and then
like
you kind
with
of go
anything-
back to work and
But
you
that's
deal with
And-
But
and
just-
to
oh,
Jill's-
excuse me,
General
Dan-
question,
excuse me,
you
Lynn.
know.
Jill,
Yeah.
just like with anything else,
Yes.
if you take the training and it doesn't work, well, then it doesn't work for you, but it might work for other people. You know, you're not gonna get you know, 100%, but basically the idea is to have a program for the town so that the employees can access this and make a better work environment. That's the whole
No,
idea
no,
behind it.
you know, I guess I think with the harassment training that is mandated by,
Yeah.
you know, state law, this is something that we're choosing to do, that we're choosing to invest, you know, our time and resources in. And I do just have a healthy dose, I think, of skepticism. And I'm just expressing it. It doesn't, you know, mean at the end of the day, I don't think we should do it.
Well,
I just want
Let me,
to have that
Tommy, what is your
satisfied.
feeling on this? We haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
My thing is that, first of all, you have to do the homework beforehand. You gotta watch like 4 videos of like anywhere from 20 minutes to half hour long. Whose time is that gonna be on? Is it gonna be on the town's time, or is that something they're gonna do at home? They're really gonna wanna do at home? That's number one. Number two, when they do the interview, is it gonna be on town time, or is it gonna be something they're gonna do after town? Because that's all our money as well.
It seems very time intensive, and, you know, I would be interested to see how the employees who have already taken it feel about the effectiveness of the course, prior to broadening it, before we go with, I mean, we don't have 40 managers, so to speak.
This isn't just for managers.
Correct.
However, sitting right here in this room, Hope took the course, I took the course, Pam took the course, Gary took the course.
I took the course.
I dropped out, I had enough. I dropped out.
I took the
Understood.
course and I found it was very detached.
honest about
Yeah.
it.
You know,
I dropped out.
I think that there's better alternatives out there. This is just my perspective of it, and I don't think it's something we can't explore further. I want to explore it further. I did not find that this was the best tool. And I would, for $1,000 per employee at a $40,000, I want to make sure we get the best tool out there. And we,
Right, well, we'll look into it, see if there's another tool.
yeah.
And honestly, I do agree with you, and I think this is what I was trying to frame to Debbie. When I went into it, I thought it was more of a session on how to deal with implicit bias as opposed to workplace conflict. And it really did focus more on workplace conflict and didn't give me the training in implicit bias I thought I was going to get.
There certainly was materials on microaggression and implicit bias,
But it was small.
but it was, it was a smaller portion. And I think that Lindsay's point about allyship, I think is a really strong and well put.
I think there's a lot of,
allyship? Forgive me, I don't know that either.
so allyship is, you know, partnership when you are working with someone who may be different in the workplace, whether it be, you know, based on gender identity, racial identity, sexuality, in sort of supportive of them.
So if they have a
If-
complaint, if something happens to them and they are afraid to speak up, you are their ally, you will be the one to go to a manager, you will write a report, you can confront the person because they don't feel like they're in a power position, which is not true, everyone can, but you as an ally would take some of the onus on.
Thank you.
It's basically, and, you know,
I would just add that,
sorry.
you know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, because I'm the cure.
Yeah.
Well,
We would rather not
Can I
give our
suggest
money
that
to
would
Jeff.
this in some way lessen the responsibility that we, you know, if someone were to lodge some kind of complaint, could we say, well, we offered this training, or we had this person undergo this training, so that,
That's certainly helpful.
from a legal perspective, in terms of,
I mean, I've not had a case that had to have that point
Yeah.
particularly, but I will say that in a lot of the matters that I get involved with, you know, it's been a conflagration, and I have to come in and put out the fire, you know, and then if that could also result in ultimately in a discrimination complaint or in litigation. I think that discussing this and whatever program you choose, do something, because
yeah.
I'm a big believer in, you know, forestalling this. because
We-
No,
we
I
have to
agree.
show-
And I-
agree.
We
I
have to
would-
show that we are proactive in this regard. I think that's important. If this is a program that you want to hold off on, we'll put this over for a month, but in the meantime,
I will
let's
do my
find something
legwork.
else that may take its place, or may not. We may vote on this next month again. Okay?
That's why we
I
have
would-
all the information.
I want to add that, yes, we have situations where a tension has devolved into a conflagration, but what happens also is people leave, and we have lost some really valuable people because they can't handle the conflicts, and they just leave. They just vote with their feet, and that's a real loss for the town.
Correct, and that's why this is important. It's something I'm going to address as soon as I get home, or as soon as I have a chance tomorrow, kind of send over some information. But I do have another question, and it kind of, maybe it's more pointed towards Debbie. as far as this program or any program in particular, how do we make it mandatory for the employee to participate in, or is it sort of optional? How are we navigating that? Because I do have an issue with picking a program that's extremely time intensive with homework, and then, an hour's worth of homework and videos, and then, an additional, 2 hours meeting. I don't think it's fair to necessarily
The
ask
meeting is 1
employees-
hour each.
Yeah, ask employees to do it on their own time. But it is something that is, I would almost rather see it broken up into more sessions than, this huge chunk of time. Because
How is the sexual harassment program, the DePeche program?
We,
that mandatory?
we cover, the town will cover the time that somebody is in the PESH training. We require it. So that's something that we do.
so I think,
Correct, but you asked the question. I'm trying to answer it. So the structure that we talked about with the Lead Vantage team was that we would set up a couple of cohorts, one before work, one during lunchtime, and give people a choice. I really had not anticipated making this mandatory. I think that certainly at the beginning, at this point, we're just beginning to roll it out. Or, I would hope to invite people and work with department heads to make recommendations that hopefully the staff members would agree. But if somebody disagrees heartily, I don't anticipate forcing them unless it's a disciplinary issue. Then I might.
All right, let's move on. New logical. A retention agreement with Patrick Murphy. Debbie, you sent out a memo on this, I believe?
I did, but I sent it out just today, so I wouldn't reproach anybody from not having read it. So Patrick Murphy I'm sure has become a familiar face to you all. He was tapped by Janai to come in and help us pull together the information technology video challenge of getting our video control room glued together and working, and putting together our hybrid meetings, which I'm sure many of you have heard from the community that pardon me, I just declined that. Hybrid meetings are very challenging to do. Governments all over our region, probably all over the country, are challenged with how do you do a hybrid meeting? Well, we've done hybrid meetings. We have also the challenge of projecting or disseminating our meetings out to not only the cable networks of Portchester and Rybrook and Rye Neck, but also a multitude of social media platforms, which was discussed several months ago at this meeting, that we wanted to make sure that our meetings were available not only on Facebook, where all the old people go, but also the other social media platforms. Patrick Murphy is the person who figured out how to do all of that. And
me too.
so it's time to make this official. He has submitted, in response to my request, a consulting proposal, and the proposal sets a not to exceed sum of $700 per month. There's a run rate, and we'd like to get this started officially.
He's also shown up and helped us with things like our pride ceremony, and he's,
Was he at the Pride ceremony?
I feel like he's very helpful.
You know, I would ask Janai to come in and talk with us. And if you'd like to ask some questions,
He's
I'm not
everywhere.
sure.
Yeah.
Patrick's everywhere. I've known
Patrick is
Patrick
everywhere.
for years, and he's fantastic. And I do have to say, things have been going a lot more smoothly since he's been kind of taking the lead on this.
Yeah, I use the term up and humming.
Up and
They are
humming,
humming.
correct,
Yes.
which I think,
So this is for the hybrid meetings, when they're like a Zoom?
We do two
Come-
meetings a month, and there are a multitude of moving pieces that he has figured out how to glue together and
Oh.
move forward.
Okay, say if you have 3 people that are gonna be Zooming in, so is it just a one-time fee, or is it per person for the Zoom?
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
No, there's no
Okay.
fee to join our meetings. And we actually bring a member of Hope's staff, Stephanie Maciel, is the administrator for the Zoom, because it takes one person to watch and to make sure that
Yeah.
people are admitted. There's a lot of talent going on back there.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I understand that. I
Yeah.
know in the back room there's a lot of, things,
A lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff that goes on.
Patrick's fee is an hourly fee.
So that's for the 2 meetings or if you call a special meeting or something, that's his rate, not to exceed the 700, no matter
Well,
how
yes, if
many.
there's an extra meeting, I would expect to pay more for that.
So this is basically
Yes.
just for the 2 meetings a month.
well,
Yeah.
it's a not to exceed amount, and I'm assuming that we do share some of the costs with the Rye Town Park Commission.
I would expect that would be allocated.
Because, yeah, because some of half of the meetings they're covering are Rye Town Parks Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, and I've actually mentioned this to Patrick, I saw him earlier today when I came up to the meeting, and this might be something of interest to you, was sort of promoting or being more proactive in getting people to follow along with the board meetings. Which if you read his proposal, it sounds like he's more apt to work with us on that as well.
I basically mention every meeting for people to come or watch, because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They gotta get involved in their town.
But the more convenient it is, and I think Patrick has been doing a great job of making it convenient for people to access. And I will say, for transparency, this is something that's worth it.
Okay.
Especially in this day and age.
Now that we've,
Janai?
now,
Janai has joined us. Do you have
Now-
anything you want to add?
Patrick speaks a language I don't speak, and none of us speak. It is very high tech. It's very IT. When we were having issues broadcasting with Rybrook, we didn't know what to do, and he was able to step in. He was able to speak the language and make friends with people that would never talk to me, and get us up and running. He also liaisoned with Westchester County. So there's a level of skill there that we just don't have. And, he does make it easy. And then not only that, he turns around and explains it to me in a digestive, dose that I could understand, so that Debbie and I can make decisions and troubleshoot and figure out which way we would need to go. Not only that, he has a plethora of equipment. So whenever we say, oh, we want to do this, he goes, wait, before you invest in it, let me bring my equipment in, let's see if it works, and then we'll go from there. So he's also cost effective.
Is he's gonna be here at the meetings, or is he gonna be
He's
somewhere
here
else
at the
on
meetings most of the time. Once in a while, if he conflicts with his other duties, because he also handles a lot of sports teams.
Okay.
He will remote in, and then
Remote
we
in.
have verbal, and he's
If there's-
watching.
Yeah, it's a conflict, you can he can get a hold of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, very good. I'm good with that.
Is set not to exceed, so.
I mean, it's an hourly fee.
Yeah, no, it's reasonable. I think it's a reasonable fee. I just,
Yeah. I just
Wanted
want
to
to
get a couple
say
answers.
too that when we were up and running, he doesn't like nickel and dime us. If we need to call him for something, I've never seen that on his invoices.
Okay.
And in the beginning, I had a ton of questions. So
All right,
I'm good.
we've aired it. Motion in a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson? And
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. That completes the resolution part of the meeting. Debbie, do we have anybody online who has a question? Any participation?
There's not a single question online. There were a couple of likes along the way, but that's
Oh,
kind of
good.
it.
What did they like?
I think it was during the budget book presentation.
Okay, that
there
makes
was,
sense.
There were some likes floating up across the page.
Dave doesn't count.
It didn't say who made the like. I don't know.
All right, let's get on to the reports. Madam Assessor.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick announcements. The final roll has been published on the town's website, and the Board of Assessment review notices of determination have been sent out by regular mail or email whenever possible. And as a refresher, the final roll differs from the tentative roll only in that it reflects any Board of Assessment review reductions. So everything else is the same. And from now until October 15th, people will be filing small claims assessment review and tax certs if they are not satisfied with what they received as the Board of Assessment review determination. One other quick thing that's been in the news, just so you know, we are looking into it, was that Albany passed some legislation that will be under consideration here and at the county and then at the other taxing jurisdictions within our municipality, that includes the possibility of higher income limits for seniors and persons with disability who also have limited incomes. Both group would have to have limited incomes. And those new limits would have to be adopted by each of the taxing entities, the county, town, school, and villages. And I believe the county has scheduled their public hearing for October 3rd, and then we will be discussing that to determine in which direction the town would like to go.
That will be on the agenda for the October meeting.
And-
It will be necessary to pass a local law.
Correct. And that's basically all I have for this evening.
When is the filing deadline on the certs and the SCARs?
Officially October 15th, but then there's an additional 10 days to actually serve it, I believe, on the town and the villages. But it has to be filed with the county by the 15th, so 1 month, 30 days.
So you'll be able to tell us at the next meeting how many have been filed?
Correct.
Okay, so prepare for that.
Okay.
Not too
Well,
many, I hope.
And not really, because it'll go through October 30th. So by the November meeting, for sure, we'll have final numbers, but I can certainly give you an update where we're at.
Okay.
And a lot
very
of
good.
people wait till the last minute.
Yes, they
so-
do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, any questions, anything?
nope.
Okay, very good, thank
Thank
you.
you, Denise. Camille, Crawford Park Activity Report?
Good evening, everyone. Okay, we're good. Okay, so, good news again, I'm happy to report. Take a look at the cumulative inquiries or leads that we have been getting. Continues to increase. We are averaging now 38 leads per month. For next year, we have 38 leads. And we had 41 inquiries that unfortunately we couldn't accommodate because the date was not available. As far as the bookings, we are at a ratio of roughly 65% of inquiries to actual bookings, which is an increase from previous months. We get 25 bookings a month, average. We have 16 events booked for next year. We have one for 2024, and we have currently 16 proposals that are pending. The revenue is the cumulative net revenue, and just as a reminder, we have backed out of that 242,000 the security deposits that will be refunded, and the event staff gratuities that are paid out. Also, we do not deduct the labor costs because that's managed separately than the budget and payment portal we're working with. So also as a reminder, full year revenue plan was at 205. So we've made our number for the year.
And we have a couple of months to go.
I know. And there is no slowing down, to be honest, which is all good. Also wanted to take you through the cumulative fees waived. We went into a little more detail in the last month's meeting, breaking it down by the actual patron groups, the municipalities, the education, et cetera, that use Crawford on a regular basis. Okay.
I think that.
There we go. Nope. So the average per month of the fees that we waive is $21,000. And let's see, we didn't make it in there. It's $197,000 year to date in terms of waived fees. Any questions?
No, I don't have a question, I have a comment. And I think the best part of this presentation you didn't show,
Which is?
the pictures of the fiddleheads.
Well, there you go. This class started, it's going to be, I think it's a 12-week course, Fiddleheads Cooking Studio. It is a one day a week is here, and there are 3 different classes. This first one was absolutely adorable, 12 students. And we all went in to just see what was going on, and it was pretty exciting. These children were so excited to be there. And we're glad to have them. We really are. So next month, I will show you the dance class that you probably all saw on your way in tonight.
Right.
Also adorable, but I didn't have any current photos, which I'd like to do for next month.
We have permission to publish these on to send them to the Westboro News?
I will find out.
Find out, because
I
I
will
think
find
this is
out.
a nice human interest story
Yeah.
for them to be able to post.
I agree. It'll all depend on the releases that the parents
Yeah,
have signed, and I'll look
obviously,
into
they might
that.
not want their kids' pictures in there, so, that's
No,
understandable.
We can be creative. We can find out. Yeah, but I agree, it would be a great story. And it'll also open it up to more options for other teachers and other classes.
Yeah,
So, okay,
thank you, Camille.
you're welcome. And just quick on the charging stations, as we all expected, the usage has continued to drop. For unique drivers, we have 12 in September, 23 sessions for September to date. So it's probably going to double because it's only to the 15th. Energy, I'm not an expert on that, but we've used 0.7 megawatts. The financials are, we are taking in this month so far $197. The utility cost so far has been $153, so we are still making a profit at $44. Okay?
Did see a notice today in my town email that a press release went out from Con Ed saying that electricity prices were going to go up by almost 3% this winter. So,
Wow.
wondering, maybe for next month, we figure out how that increase might
Sure.
affect our bottom line on this.
Sure. You said 3%, right?
It was somewhere along 2.7 to 3. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, our electricity comes from NYPA, but your comment is nonetheless relevant, and we'll certainly look into it.
Right. I would just assume that across the board, electric costs are going to go up as we
Yeah, well,
continue on our 35-year.
We need to work, I've mentioned this to Steve Otis, we need to work on the subsidy, or lack thereof, for charging stations generally. and especially for municipalities, that it is the state's policy as well as the federal government's policy to encourage the use of electric vehicles. And if they're going to maintain high electric charges, that runs counter to that policy. So even though it's still far less expensive than gas, you know, the state can do something about the cost of electricity to charging stations, and we have to work on that. Anything else, Camille?
That's it for Crawford.
Thank you very much. Dave, got anything for us?
Really, just one quick comment, that's all. Just as a monthly receivable report that you get each month, as of August 31st, the outstanding receivables for the town is about $2.1 million, which is just under 1% of the tax levies for the municipalities. And that's, normally we try to shoot for about 1 to 1.2% by the end of the year. So this is the lowest it's been in about 18 years since I've been with the town. So as a percentage of the tax levy.
It's not 1%, it's
0.97%. It got
0.97%.
under 1, that's, yeah, so it's under 1, which is hard to believe. Of the $2.1 million, we have made whole to all other municipalities about 1.7. We have another about 400,000 we have to make whole to the county in the October payment to them. But that's good news because basically that's the town's money. And so the smaller that number is, the better it is for the town for their cash reserves and their cash flow. So, all good news. So, that's it.
All right, and what I look at also is the next page, our in rem receivables. We only have one property from the 2018 taxes and 4 properties from the 2019 taxes, and those properties Jeff will be placing into in rem petition within the next week or so, right, Jeff? And it's only a total of 4 properties, one of which has said that they're going to pay. So that's also good news.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
What is your reaction to the presentation that we had at the beginning? The
For the budgeting?
the
Well,
budgeting?
there's a lot of benefits to it because it has access to the board, and the board would have access to it pretty much 24/7 and can provide comments and information. We just would want to take a look at what their pricing structure is for this year, because I guess that's an annual subscription, and, you know, how that would hold in the future, because once we would load the information into their system, then, you know, we would want to make sure that their pricing structure did not increase significantly, you know, year over year, but that would be the only concern that I would have, to get some more information on the pricing structure for their past and what their plan is for the future as we would roll into their system.
Do you think their system would be a lot easier for you, make your job easier?
I think it would provide more information. You gotta upload all the information initially, so there's gonna be a lot of upfront work.
Yeah.
But I think it would be more transparent. It would also provide more information to the board. You know, accountants are used to working with information, but that's not necessarily, you know, user-friendly to the board and to the public in terms of what's going on with the operating budget and the capital budget. So, you know, we understand numbers a little bit better in that regard, but so I think it's gonna be a lot more user-friendly and a lot more, provide a lot more information to the board and to the public.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Vic's not here tonight?
Vic is off today.
Okay. Jeffrey, you have anything? And Hope, your report is submitted. Do you have anything to add?
No?
Did Nick say about anything about?
Well, here he is.
Nick is here.
Where's Nick?
The green box.
Nick, we can't see you. You're all black. You're blacked out.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I just want to remind everybody that we are right at mid-month. And it's the end of the month is tax time for school payments. So please, everyone concentrate because there's a lot of money still out there. And we need to get the money for the school districts. And also after the 30th of September, there becomes a penalty. So please, everyone, there's a few people have utilized our new system. I understand that 52 people have utilized it in the Rye Brook collection, the pre-setting of the date. So hopefully that'll catch on further and be very usable for the taxpayers. Okay, any questions for me?
Nope.
Okay,
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Nick. Well, we really should, talk to Rybrook and Portchester and see if we can get an email blast on this new tax collection system. Of course, it really affects everybody. And it'll be so much easier for so many of the taxpayers to be able to schedule their payments in advance and, set it and forget it. So, anyway.
That was enclosed with each bill, though.
Pardon me?
That was enclosed with each bill, that they, with their tax bills, they received
Yeah,
that
but-
flyer.
Yeah, but it
that
doesn't,
explained it.
I know, but even putting it in with the tax bill, to keep hammering it, just sending it out, there's no harm to it.
No.
Before adjourning, I had sent out an email earlier today. I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session
Pardon me?
for,
Before we go into executive session, I had something to offer. And that is, if you look at your screens, you are looking at Miss August of the DOT annual calendar. This is the Hillside Avenue Bridge, which was just completed. Lindsay Jackson and Gary Zuckerman attended the opening right before Labor Day. And it was submitted by our bridge designers to the state and competed against all the other bridges. And this is going to be the August image for the calendar.
Looks nice.
yes,
I like that stonework.
it's beautiful. Not only that, but, it's really funny. I mentioned it to Debbie when I first saw the picture, that when you stand on the bridge and you have the road going in each direction, it looks so much bigger. When you see it from the side, it's like, what a little bridge. But okay. Now, motion for executive session to discuss specific personnel issues, please.
Yes.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All right, and we will not be coming back into public session. There will be no resolution or action taken in the executive session. It's a discussion. Thank you.